promise to be brief because honestly, I have to be in Senator Cruz's office at 12:30, and you want me there before you want me here. So I will be brief. I want to thank JT and all of you for the invite. Truly, I am humbled and super excited, and I have to admit, JT reached out during the campaign to both candidates and said, if you win, couldn't you come speak at our annual meeting? And honestly, it was one of those moments I thought two things. One, I thought December seems like it's so far out because you sent it pretty early. So I penciled it in. Plus, I was well aware of my finances and how things were going with the polls. And so that was one thing that was very consistent through the campaign were my finances and the polls. But here I am, thankfully, and I am super excited to be here. So thank you, JT. I want to take a step back to the campaign just for this reason. Not that I love the campaign, and I know Dave Adams even said, you look a lot better than you did a couple months ago, so thanks, Dave. So, you know, it takes a true friend to remind you of that. So, yeah, I was a little tired. Not that I'm getting much sleep, but it's a whole other type of stress. But here I am, and I want to let you know, during that time I had a platform, and I want to revisit that because I want to be to you what I was on that platform. Many times I think we see politicians get into office and we can't recognize that platform any longer. And I will tell you, and people who know me best, who can tell me I don't look good, those who know me best also know that I will stay true to that platform. So that platform revolves around leadership, bringing back K-12 proven leadership from the central office to people at the building level that have that leadership that we need. It goes around partnership, making sure that we are being good partners with all organizations, not picking and choosing who we're playing nice with. Also, the assessment and accountability piece that I know is a mess, and we're working really hard to help in that situation, and I know many of you are waiting on pins and needles about what's going to happen with that. I feel your pain. In addition, resources and tools that we all need and we all deserve, we need to make sure we have those because you all financially are strapped and otherwise your time is of the essence. And finally, making sure we put students before politics. And I will argue that is an area, which I say for 8 years, we've struggled. We've struggled as a state to get that right. So I'm coming in at an interesting time, and I love the energy that I'm feeling, the energy that I'm hearing, that people are like, let's go. Let's get the focus back on kids. Let us do our job, and let's get this job done. And so that is very encouraging. It's very humbling to have so many people reach out and say, let's get this job done. Fast forward to today with our transition team. That transition team is made up of folks who will stay true to that platform, who understand finances, assessment and accountability, preschool, broadband capacity that we all need, the teacher shortage and how we're going to address that. That team I selected, and I know I've had a couple black eyes because of it, but I selected them on, I know at the end of the day, they would never put politics before students. They will always remain student focused, and they have the capacity to move us in our first step. So I know in this room, Jeff Butts is on that team. He will represent our superintendents well, along with Scott Kroner, who I don't think is in this room. Did I miss Scott? But you have two superintendents who are on that committee. You also have Denny Costerison representing school business officials. You have Todd Best representing principals. You have Lisa Tanzel representing the School Board Association, and other folks who are on that committee from higher ed all the way to preschool. We wanted to make sure it was broad enough that everyone, not everyone, but a lot of representation was at that table. Now, having said that, I've had a lot of people come up to me and say, hey, don't forget us down south. Don't forget us up north. I will not forget you. I promise to have other advisory groups where you are at the table. I 100% get, and I realize this over the last 11 months more so than ever, Northern Indiana is just different. Southern Indiana is just different. The donut is very different from my district. So I know we're very, very unique, but we all are struggling with finances. You know, Senator Cruz, and we're gonna have this conversation at 12:30, but Senator Cruz did bring up the issue of bus transportation. You know, for me, it's not a bus transportation issue. Now, it's a circuit breaker issue, but I'm okay in transportation. But bus replacement is another story. Capital projects is another story. So just to target one single area for circuit breaker issues, I'm a little bit concerned. The good news is we're at the table. I have standing meetings with Doc Brown, which is huge, and Senator Kinley and Senator Mishler are going to be every 2 weeks during the session. Now, I'm also smart enough to know I don't have all the answers. So some of you may be getting calls from me to say, guess where you're going in 2 weeks. So I have no problem with bringing people to the table, and I know Denny is consistently at the table as well, and JT and Todd and Brian, but we need to continue to do that. That is the good news, though. Before, we didn't have a voice. And so now we have a voice at the table. And again, I don't have all the answers, but all of us collectively, we can get this done. We need to take advantage of that, and I promise you that is how we will operate. The other piece of the puzzle is making sure that those partnerships that have been severed are rebuilt. We cannot do this alone. So we have a lot that's up against us. I've already reached out to ISTA, and it was interesting. I'm looking forward to just moving forward with ISTA. I would argue their approach is antiquated, and I have told them such. If we're going to get this done, we have to have their help. It can't just be us against them, or them against us, or them against the legislators. We have to include them to do what we need to do. We have to include our organizations. It's going to be a major undertaking, but we have to do it collectively, because in isolation, we are very easy targets. It becomes too simple to target educators and divide and conquer. So we have to have a collective voice. I'm glad that Commissioner Braun was here, and I'm glad we had the legislators and we had some folks representing higher ed here today. I would also argue it's not the Department of Education with DWD alone, or the Department of Education with the Commission of Higher Education alone. That's got to be a triangulation. Because as a superintendent, I know what it's like to be push the rigor, get them to college. Push the certification and get them to the workforce. We have very different messages coming at us, and that's on a consistent basis. So that power of getting those voices and that message and a triangulation, all of us know that, but I'm hoping I will be a part of that. I know Commissioner Braun has extended, a lot of invites to come to the table, and I know Commissioner Lubbers, I've spoken to her as well. But to me, that's got to be a huge triangulation, or we're all caught in the middle trying to make heads or tails of what do you need us to do and how are we going to get there, and our finances are impacted by those decisions. And so I'm also well aware of that. So I just want to say before I close, I know it's really fast, but I got to go. But I just want to say I am truly excited. I think you're going to be very pleased with the capacity of the department. We have a lot of proven leaders who want to be a part of it, which is a great situation to be in. Proven leaders from many of your peers, many of the principals who are coming out to say, hey, I want to be a part of this. So that capacity at the department will be, I think you will be very pleased with what we can get done. The other piece of that is I will be upset. It's not a pride issue for me. I will be upset if I'm screwing something up and I don't hear from Travis down south to say, Jennifer, you really need to consider this. This needs to be on your radar. Many of you have my cell phone. If you don't have my cell phone, at this point, that is your fault because I can give it to anybody, or you have peers that have it. I would rather have a phone call from all of you to say, you're really not doing a good job of this, or can you please consider this, or this is what's coming at you and you don't realize it. I would rather have a heads up. I won't surprise you if you don't surprise us. And so I would really appreciate that type of partnership as we go forward. And I hope to hear from many of you, because again, I know your worlds are very different. So with that, I will be quiet. And again, I do appreciate the support over the last 12 months and look forward to going forward with the department. Thank you.